and the Nova Scotia Community College, we ran a public policy program, which the inaugural program was last year, and now we're doing it again this year, integrating Afrocentric perspectives into e-learning and on-site programs. We had some changes throughout the year. So we said farewell to some of our staff, Lillian Fernandez and Rafi Kadan and Brittany Oakley. But we welcomed a few more, Ryan, Lily, Odessa, and Antifa were some new additions to our board, which, you know, we, a few staff left and we just jumped for more. So it is a growing organization. We had some changes on our board as well. We had Tyree Haley leaving and Shelley Wynot leaving. Those were some very recent board members who departed to pursue other activities, and we brought on a couple new board members, Tanya and Susie Brigham. And I must mention as well, Susie is the vice chair, and she was a board member, so we brought on, I do appreciate the fact that she came board members, Tanya and Susie Brigham. I must mention as well. I have a quote that was written in there, it says, a little rain each day will fill rivers overflowing. Appreciate the fact that she came. And I just want to express our thanks to all of our partners. I have a quote that was written in there, and that says, a little rain each day will fill rivers overflowing. Participated in writing this, and I just want to express our thanks to all of our partners. We want to express our deep appreciation for our funders each day and supporters from the Department of Education and Early Childhood Development, who are our main donors. And we further acknowledge our board members, staff, and communities for the leadership and support that they have given us throughout the year. And there ends my very short report.
Okay, every year, the Delmore Buddy Day Learning Institute invites a member of the community to provide a keynote to as part of our report to community. And so we are thrilled this year that we have Miss Louise Dalil as our keynote speaker. And I want to tell you a little bit about Miss Dalil. You may already know something about her, but I'm going to tell you that Miss Louise Dalil contributions to human rights in Nova Scotia cannot be understated, not only through her groundbreaking work as the founder of SEED, which is the South End Environmental Injustice Society, and as an outspoken advocate addressing environmental racism in Shelburne's Black community, but also an educator, a playwright, a published author of a book called Back Talk, Plays of Black Experience, and a respected African Nova Scotian community leader. To improve and access to clean drinking water in her community, Louise has initiated extensive plays of Black experience with the Rural Water Watch, advocated for the creation of a community well to improve partnership and access to clean drinking water. Installed Louise has a treatment and filtration system on homes in Black communities with the Rural Water Watch, contaminated, advocated in partnership with Lush Canada, and participated in numerous interviews, documentaries, and research projects. Among other boards and committees, Louise has been a member of the Advisory Council for the Shelburne Regional High School, worked as a community liaison officer and with the Black Loyalist Heritage Society, and was a member of the Shelburne Community Health Board. Louise is the winner of the Queen's Platinum Jubilee Medal for her community work. So please welcome Miss Louise DeLeo.
Did I do all that?
Yes, you did all that.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for that wonderful introduction. Sometimes when you're in community and you're working, you tend to forget what you do. And sometimes it's nice to be reminded. Good evening, everybody. Before I jump into it, thank you for that. I'd like to start by thanking the buddies. Sometimes when you're learning in community and inviting me, you tend to forget what you're coming together here today in these magnificent surroundings. Before it all began for us, for this African Nova Scotian, the buddies when you're learning in community and inviting me to. I am the 8th here, Black today, in these magnificent surroundings. The most important, it all began for us. I'm also an activist, they say. The most important issue right now is the environmental racism, as well as our climate change and how it's affecting the African Nova Scotian community. And the most important issue right now, I'd like to thank God that I'm able to stand here with you this evening, as well as because many of my community is not here anymore, the African Nova Scotian community. I'd like to also take the time to thank those who work. I'd like to thank God well forever to benefit us all, because many of my and some are in this room. I'd like to, and a special thanks to the late Elizabeth Cromwell and her husband for their dedication to seeing us this far and recognizing the Black voice and their struggle with racism and discrimination, and having a vision, especially has come this far. Bring us together to be able to be in this room together and recognizing the Black voice and their struggle. I'd like to start with a quote by Alice Walker. And having a vision, especially has come. What is real is what happened, and what happened to me, and what happened is most real of all. I'd like to start with a quote by what happened to them is part of me. When I think of this quote, it brings to mind the struggles of the Black world, and my family is most real of all. My contribution today will reflect on the interaction over decades. When I think of this, my family as well as myself, how we've had to deal with racism and discrimination since the time we settled here in Birchtown, Portland, and Shelby, and what over the time has happened to solve these issues, if any. I'll talk about how these difficulties and these experiences with racism and discrimination have affected us as Black people whose hard work built much of the town. It's no recognition. If you look, you can find a lot of things that are similar in other communities. Racism is exhausting, built much of the town, because it continues to poison everything that we try to build and make our own. You can find a lot of environmental racism is one of the worst forms of racism. I report as a Black community member of the people in Shelburne who managed to accomplish a few important things to help address environmental racism. Environmental racism is a form of racism that comes into our communities as a town dump or a landfill and has been killing us from the toxic environmental output and brings with it systemic racism and all forms of racism that comes into our communities. The first thing that I'll report to you is that Shelburne did have and still has a Black community. And because that's one of the things that's been said. There's no Black community in Shelburne. But a group of black people that lived in the black community of Shelburne named it still has a black point to ensure that the black community had access to clean water. We did that as a group, a caring black community. It is wonderful to be able to tell you that there are several people who have chosen to speak up against the harms that environmental racism has brought to our community. This is a great accomplishment when we are coming from a time when people wouldn't. It is wonderful to be able to tell you that there are several people who have chosen to speak up against the harms. We've contributed to research and other ways to the environmental racism bill. This community contributed dearly to that. We all need to be very proud of this. It was very difficult for us to be heard, but as a collective, the outcome was different. The bill is now law. And we have to be very proud of it. It was very difficult for us to be heard, but as a collective, we have spoken about it and written about it, and what we see as reparations in that bill that comes back to our community in terms of compensation for the community members affected. This reparation will be asked in a monetary way as well as other important things that are needed to help right some of the wrongs in our community members affected. Racism continues to be a driver of persistent inequality in many black communities, and this one included. It is meant to deny people their fundamental human rights. It makes us doubt ourselves. It makes us wonder, am I good enough? It destabilizes communities. Racism and gender inequality are hate. Discrimination suffered by women, mostly of color and minority groups, is hate and has been in our midst for generations. I report to you that no black person is immune from the small-mindedness of this hate. From the time we were stolen from our home and brought here as slaves and indentured servants, and those of us who were free, we had to deal with the extra trauma inflicted on us of racism. To combat this hate, we must listen to those experiencing injustice and ensure their concerns and demands are at the center of efforts to dismantle discriminatory structures. To combat this hate, this group that has brought us together is so important going forward to change this and put the black communities in a place of accessing each other and working together to experience this difference for the better path. I can speak about racism. People don't like to hear it. I am and was a person that has been harmed by hate. From the very first time I started to speak about environmental racism, it's been in my life stronger than it was before. I was not the only one, though, who talked about environmental racism. And I choose not to forget those two men that I would listen to. And that's Keith Jackman and Gordon Lyles. They didn't know what to call it. They talked about the dump and the effects of the dump being in our community, but they didn't know. They didn't know what to call it because at that time there was no. It wasn't called environmental racism. They didn't know what to call it. Called nothing. Nobody said anything. The effects of the dump being in our community, but they didn't know. They didn't know. Those voices are both gone now and gone to cancer, of course, like most of my community. And the stress of hard days dealing with racism and talking up and trying to make people realize this is not good. It's hurting. To cancer, of course. Labels have been placed on all of us at some point, not only by the whites in power, but also by some of our own, to make people realize this. What those people don't realize is that in this life, you either fight for what you believe have been placed on all right at some point, and you sit over there, the whites in power, but also by some in that corner, and you talk about somebody else in a negative way, and what they're trying to do to make things better for all. This is something that our people tend to do to one another. In that corner, and you talk about I feel that this is a kind of prejudice. This kind of prejudice goes back to the kitchen and the field slave. Trying to do to make things better for all. We brought it with us. This is something that our people tend to do to one another. In that corner, rather than acknowledge the beauty of diversity, racism gives birth to violence and strengthens inequality. We brought it with us. To be happy to live in every aspect of health, well-being, and well-being as a person of color. We need to be open to learn, as these young people at the Delmore Buddy Day Learning Institute are doing. Be happy to live in every aspect. Be willing to let racism make you aware of who you are, as a person of color. Let the strength you have and what you can take from it, people at the Delmore Buddy Day Learning, don't let it isolate you. Let it help you recognize who that person is that is discriminating and that is being racist against you. I can report to you that I know the look that racism gives you. Remember that look. I report to you today that it is a look I have seen more of the last 70 years that I want to give you. Remember that look. For the look is something that will make your heart stop for a second. I have seen just a fleeting second with fear and dread for some reason. It will bring rage to you. For the look is something that will make that feeling that will make you feel that you are less than you are. Just a fleeting second makes you want to run. Fear. Now, where do you think that? For some reason, all that comes. It will bring rage to you. Is from when we came. That feeling that will make you feel that you are less than you are. Look them right in the eye. Don't ever lower your head. Look them right in the eye and you don't have to say words. The look you must give them is one of pride in who you are. And don't forget to let them know that you know who they are. Look them right in the eye and don't. That look should tell them that in the big picture, you are their equal and stronger. And they have revealed themselves to you and you know it. You know who they are. Remember that person. Most of all, forgive. Tell them that in the big picture. Now I'm just saying forgive because this is an important part of your theme. Forgiveness. Remember to forgive because we don't want to be like that person. Most of all, forgive. Also remember that racism doesn't always wear a white hood and burn a cross. It can be sitting in the room beside you and smiling in your face, making sure they do whatever they have to stay in control of all situations that make you and that make it harder for you to have an easier life. Beside you and smiling in your face, they can't afford to lose. Making sure they do whatever realize it and confront it in a peaceful way through learning and education harder for you to have an easier life. I also report to you that it takes action every day at every level in every society to achieve a world free of racism and racial discrimination. The Delmore Buddy Day Learning Institute that operates with an Afrocentric approach, which is a philosophical manner of thought and way of life that places persons of African ancestry at the center of their educational and research initiatives. This statement is in their mission statement. This is the kind of action that will make a real difference for all of us. I also tell you that some people need to recognize that we are not in need of any control, especially not control that is used to take from us. And this is what racism does. It takes from us, all of us. Example, if you have a white man setting himself amidst a group of blacks because he's not welcome in his own community, and he has something to report back to them against the black community who are working to better their lives, it's a real shame that some blacks follow this sick logic. That's racism, working against the community, through the community, and this needs to stop. I can report to you that we will find this hate in the most sacred places. This is of great harm, sometimes because people don't want to have to deal with the hate of racism, as we are a kind and loving people. We are. Some of us just can't be in a place where they have to face racism in any form. We just can't be. We don't have that in us. This racism places itself in our face, on our boards that are developed to change things, in our elected spaces of decisions, as a method to keep us behind and in a slave's position. But I report that some have made it through the lines of that hate and are making a difference, and more will join. The group that has formed this wonderful event here in this rural area is one of them. Racism is in our schools, our educational institutes, our places, our workplaces, our places of worship, in our health care, our homes, our land ownership, as well as places where we spend our hard-earned money. You'll find racism everywhere. What I'm saying, it is in our internal world. It's something that hurts and scars us, and it's never forgotten. If you experience it, you never forget it. How many people say there is no racism where they live, work, or do whatever? Those people choose to live with racism. Happens a lot in the rural area because there's not as many of us as a collective, and it affects how we respond. I believe that racism can make us perceive ourselves in a much different way than what we really are, affecting us in one of the most important things, our mental health, by attacking our self-esteem when we don't address it. We have to address it. This organization of young people is to be commended for growth and learning in spite of this hate. But let me tell you this, I see a change in our people. The young people are stronger, and they are building on their education and whatever else they can to improve themselves to help us all. If we remove racism and the friend discrimination from our world and add education, it will benefit the individual by helping that person develop self-awareness as a strong Black person, increasing a satisfaction in their lives and ours that they have never experienced. Education will do that. Together, we need to commit to make sure people of every race, color, gender, religion, creed, sexual orientation enjoy a sense of belonging and safety, and have an equal opportunity to contribute to the success of our own communities. We must always speak as one voice against those injustices of racism, environmental racism, and discrimination. So I call on everyone to listen closely, speak loudly, and act decisively to stop the injustice of racism. Let your spirits use any peaceful method to explore and find ways to be happy and grow in a positive way, away from racism and discrimination and gossiping about one another. I believe that as a distinct people, if we stand up to our responsibilities and the possibility of evil in us, then we will understand that we have to be vigilant about bringing out the good. But we will all think that it all happens to someone else, somewhere else, over there. Then we don't have to take responsibility for what we don't do to stop this hate. We must tighten up our efforts to come together and stand together as a nation, as one people, and support and work together as a force to be dealt with and take the place we deserve and be counted as the strong, hardworking, intelligent, beautiful, God-fearing people we are. We must be led by love that does not hate. Just remember, you feed what you grow. To those facing racism and unsure about speaking up, remember, there's power in your voice. Speaking out affirms your worth and honors the struggles to those who come before us. You're not alone. Together we can navigate and overcome the trauma of racism. If we're not there, then we can't stand and tell it. If we don't take part in it, we can't tell. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you so much, Louise. Wow, I'm sure all of us are feeling, as I am, just so appreciative of your wisdom, your observations, your call to action, those thought-provoking words. I'm so pleased that you were with us tonight to share that. I'd like to move along to invite Randy back up here. Randy, if you wouldn't mind coming back for a very special award presentation.
For me?
I don't know. It's a mystery.
It's a mystery. Oh, I only got one, and I don't know who's the lucky person. I should have more than one. Yeah, I should have another one. I'll take it back. Okay. So I thought it was two, but actually there's four. Oh, I need to stay within the camera. So I'm often torn when these awards are given out, because I would love to have one on my desk. But I hate to leave the DBDLI. So the first one I'll mention, which I'm not really handing out, is for board members that have served their time and have moved on. We do really appreciate the work that they have done, and as you've seen over the life of the DBDLI, there have been some significant growth. And I'm only standing here today. Our board is only standing here today because someone had the vision a number of years ago to get started. And as we continue to look at the work that those folks have done, and not to ignore the things that they've contributed, and that is the only reason why we were able to build, because we're standing on some shoulders that we can't even push down, and the world could not push down. So we're just building into the future. So for those who have contributed significantly to the work of the past and the most recent past, I want to say thanks to them, and we would award those board members. Tonight I'll mention their names, they're not here. Some past board members. They're not here tonight. It's Tylee Haley and Shelley Wyna. They're both not here tonight, but let's thank them for their hard work over the past 2 years. I also have the privilege of handing out an award to our CEO, who has been So when I ask, why is she getting an award? Oh, and they said it's because she won an Oscar and she couldn't attend, so we brought it here to hand it to her. Well, Sylvia has been the CEO for this organization for a long time, since she was 20 years old. And we want to recognize the hard work. Oftentimes you have people in the community doing hard work, and we fail to say thank you. And throughout the time that Sylvia has been with this organization, getting pretty close to 10 years. And if you say 10 years and you say that's not long, but think about it. The organization has only been around for almost 10 years. So she's been here from the beginning, literally. And she has guided this organization through a lot of changes and has the vision to sustain the changes that are about to come. So I want to thank you, Sylvia, for all of your hard work and the work that you promised to continue to do with us. And present you with this gift.
So I want folks to join in the joy with me. So I do want to display it. Randy, thank you very much. Come on, Ron. So I just need to do, I need to do the Sylvia thing. Randy, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Yeah, and for somebody who's like a boat bug and people go pictures, hey, we're coming out.
All right.
All right.
I guess the folks online would like to see you, right?
So what do we do? Oh, what do I need to do? Ron, you give me the instructions.
You good?
Hi, everybody out there.
All right.
Yes, I would like to see it also. Oh, turn around.
Oh,
Turn it down.
Oh, yeah. Oh, we know Bernadette and live stream going.
The world is watching you.
I do want to express thanks. I'm not going to try to put the agenda off time because it's, I want to be respectful of people's time here, but I really just need to acknowledge the honor that I feel to be able to have to work collaboratively with folks, to have done that and to continue to do that with your kind admittance, I guess, into the work into the future. I look out here and I just see so many people who know about and appreciate what it is to support each other, and who know about and appreciate how to be present in community and leading. And I'm humbled to follow those. And if you can see the steer that is happening to some particular folks, it's to direct it towards that. So thank you very much. Thank you for the opportunity to learn and to grow. I appreciate it.
Last award I have in my hands, it's for Lindsay Rock. And what I'll do to save time, I'll just read what's on here. All right. It says, to Lindsay, in appreciation of sharing your heart and expertise to craft this important book. Big hugs, DBDLI team. Thank you, Lindsay. Thank you.
Thank you, Randy, for doing that. Such an exciting time of the evening to acknowledge those lovely folks. And congratulations to them all. It's almost time to hear from our staff and board members, and they're going to share this year's report with you. But before that, we wanted you to see a picture was worth 1,000 words. So we have a screen up here that I'd like to draw your attention to, and we're going to look at this. And it's basically a year in review through pictures. Okay, So now it's time to hear from our staff and board, who will be sharing a glimpse of their reports. And for those of you who are joining us virtually, and those of you who are here in person, the full report booklet can be found at the dbdli.ca. And we'll be sharing the QR codes as well with you, which will take you directly to that digital version of the booklet. Our first presentation will be from Lily Lynch, and she is the manager of the Afrocentric Learning and Communications. So Lily, over to you.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. I actually used to work here as a tour guide for a couple of summers, and it's just such a pleasure and a privilege to be back. And it was before this museum was built, because I go back a ways in the community. My mom married a Bower, so you know locals probably know some Bowers. But I was really excited to join the DBDLI team this year in October. And since then, we've gone through a whole lot of initiatives and programs. And one of my favorite is the Read to Achieve program. And you saw maybe the blue poster up there with Regine Willis, who is our featured author. This program was really an initiative in collaboration with the Mulgrave Park Caring and Learning Center, where we saw Black authors who have young children's books go into the community and read with a group of kids, kind of in a beautiful library space. It's very well lit, right in Mulgrave Park, and had the kids really ask them questions about what's their journey to reading and writing. What kind of books do they like to read? Some kind of personal questions like, what's your favorite color? Or how many kids you have, or how old are you? And the kids were able to idolize and see ahead of them an example of an author that they could really speak to in person. And so we created these beautiful Read to Achieve passports. And in those passports, they have an opportunity to take an autograph from that author. So no longer are we just idolizing musicians and sports leaders and politicians, if that's something that you idolize. But we also get to look up to local African Nova Scotian authors. So that's a program that's really close to my heart. We also have in our Afrocentric Learning and Communications report a beautiful tribute to Black women who've made a difference in Nova Scotia. And it's a beautiful book that was published this year, and you can get a copy of it. It is called Black Women Who Made a Difference. Sharing wisdom stories inspired by life lessons. And I think you'll really, if you want to go to the table and view the book, you can have a look, and you can also buy it from DBDLI as well. One of our other initiatives that we participated in, just to give you another quick peek, was we created a book bouquet. So bouquet for Valentine's Day, and we're able to give that away to an African Nova Scotian student support worker and also community members. So it has all of our books contained within it, and some beautiful kind of floral arrangements, because in the winter we like to curl up with a good book, and what better than DBDLI to supply those books as well. This year, we were able to work with community members to look forward and look back into their accomplishments. And so one of the new initiatives that's on our radar is called Our Voices, Our Videos. And this is an initiative that will kind of uncloset all of the stories and films and videos that we might have hanging out in our homes that we can no longer access because they're not digitized. So we are going to be working with the Nova Scotia Archives to digitize those projects, those films, and the project will also include youth leaders that will be interviewing the elders who hold those videos to be able to kind of get more context into who are in those videos. And so that's a really exciting initiative coming up this year that we had learned that we received a grant from the Office of Equity and Anti-Racism for the province of Nova Scotia. So we're really excited about that initiative as well. And I invite you to read the report for more details. Thank you.
Lovely. Thank you so much, Lily. I'm going to ask Randy to come back. Randy's sort of the outgoing chair of research, and I believe I'm the incoming chair of the research, right? Or no, that's what I've got next. I'll carry on with the Randy show. And so, yeah, Randy, if you wouldn't mind coming up, and then we'll definitely go back to the next one. So thanks, Randy. Who's going to tell us a little bit about what the research committee's been up to.
All right. I was getting prepared for this to figure out how I'm going to start this, and I haven't yet figured it out yet. So I'll just begin by reading what's in here. But one of the things that I noticed is that we have future board members and researchers and of course many learners in this room. So I want you to pay attention to some of the things that we have been doing. And for those younger ones, I brought some students from the university with me. One of the things that I heard when I began my studies was that the question was, why are you studying Afrocentricity? There's no literature out there. And I thought, oh, then this is a great opportunity to study Afrocentricity. So I can add to the literature. So, you know, I found the DBDLI, and it was a place that really made me a Afrocentric unapologetic, where we can freely speak about the work that we've been doing and be proud of our contribution to the community. At the Afrocentric conference that happened in May 23, it's a biannual conference, and this year we have partnered with University of Venda in South Africa and Pretoria University. They will host that conference in the alternate years. We have a MOU with them. Please do, if you want to travel to South Africa and you have lots of money and you want to present with us, then please do find out more about that conference before you leave today. The elders as lifelong learners, educators, project sorry, that's the presentation in July 23. Dr. Susie Brigham and I presented at Cambridge University, focusing on the wisdom of African Nova Scotian elders in lifelong learning. The presentation led to the discussion of defining and promoting intergenerational learning and position DBDLI as a leader in this field. A community-based Afrocentric workshop. We had the Government of Canada report supports the workshop to enhance skills and foster community bonds. Over 200 stakeholders engaged in workshops across Nova Scotia, sharing DBDLI's Afrocentric e-learning system and improving in educational service. You'll hear about the Promising Schools. Those are in your book, and Ubuntu projects. We heard about the DeVoe lecture series earlier, where we saw some pictures, and just drawing your attention to some of these activities. Funding and future opportunities. We secured funding. It's a $75,000 contribution to the DeVoe Empowerment Fund, supporting Afrocentric research. Other funding initiatives focus on sustainable energy practice and enhancing Afrocentric educational space. And they include like enhancing AI-driven educational tools, expanding community engagement workshop, pursuing new funding opportunities. And we are pursuing new funding opportunities. So the DBDLI's Afrocentric achievements in Afrocentric education include identifying promising schools, expanding our e-learning, and strengthening our international ties. As mentioned earlier, we have ties in South Africa, and you know, that was our beginning, something we started just last year, and with the hopes that we will expand. In my notes here, I have that to invite folks to the conference. I already did that, so check. And and I want you to also envision the impact of the work that we're doing in research and how it will change the future for African Nova Scotia learners. I do believe in the work that we're doing. And you know, Susie and I were in Quebec, just in Montreal just yesterday, And I wore my DBDLI shirt, and the number of people who were talking about DBDLI, it's like they lived in Nova Scotia, and they were talking about the work that DBDLI was doing, and they were just as excited as you are today. To learn about they're excited to learn about the work that the DBDLI is doing in the community. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Randy. Yes, we're always so excited about all the work that the DBDLI does. Up on the screen, you'll actually see that this is the information about the artificial intelligence and Ubuntu. It's called an AI for the people, artificial intelligence for the people, an Ubuntu approach to transforming health, education, and economic landscapes. And it starts September 26th, and it's going to be happening in the Kruger National Park. So that should be incredibly exciting. So thanks, Brandy, for your report. I'd like to invite Nicole Morrison. Nicole is the chair of Youth Programs Department. So Nicole, please come on up and present on what's going on.
Hi, can you hear me?
No, we're having lots of trouble hearing.
Yeah. Okay. Funny, that's the first time I've spoke too quietly. So my name is Nicole Morrison. I'm born, well, not born, but raised and living in Sydney, Nova Scotia, Cape Breton. So I invite you to just look at the report on page 12. I'm just going to highlight some things for the sake of time. That our staff has accomplished this year. I've been on the board for several years now, and it's just super exciting to see how much they've been able to accomplish every year. So just briefly, I'll just touch on some of the things. There was a number of collaborations with different organizations in the province and outside this year at our office and also at different locations. So different presentations and workshops such as the Black Atlantic Policy Conference in PEI, the Canadian Race Relation Foundation's Anti-Racism Youth Lab in Toronto, as well as hosting a group of youth from Toronto at our office. In September, there's a partnership with the Nova Scotia Human Rights Commission and our institute to organize the NIA Summit, which there was over 130 youth there. And most recently in March, the Free to Achieve program was launched, as Lily mentioned, and that just brings me to talk about how there's so many intersections between the department and between our institute and other organizations. You'll see there's meetings with the Department of Early Education and Childhood Development, and excuse my French, but Conseil Scolaire Acadien Provincial, like the French school. And I'm just going to end on this note that's written here. The department remains committed to continuing its efforts in supporting the growth and development of young leaders in the community. And maybe I'll just put a little quip in that if you're interested in being involved with our organizations, we would love to have people from all over the province. Thank you.
Next, I'd like to ask James. James is here, and this is James Makanyara. And James is going to be presenting both the DBDLI's financial and HR reports. So welcome, James. James is the chair of the Finance Committee.
just get myself situated here. I was just thinking to myself when I was sitting back there that finance and HR. I was just thinking to myself back there that finance and HR are always put at the back of these agendas. So I'll keep it short. There's probably a reason why they're always put at the back. So I'll start first with the HR committee report on behalf of Missy Sears. She is the chair of the HR committee who wasn't able to be with us today. So I'll just read through the bulk of what that committee did is in the report, and then I'll go into the important stuff, which is the finance. So the HR report, the HR committee chair, Ms. Missy Sears, has been instrumental in refining the HR policies and ensuring that they align with the organization's operational needs during the fiscal year. One of the significant achievements was the integration of the core behavioral framework rooted in Afrocentric principles. So part of the development of the policies was developing them within that framework, which is the Afrocentric, the core behavioral framework rooted in the Afrocentric principles. In addition to updating full-time job descriptions, the committee developed a new template for short-term grant-funded positions. These efforts are part of a broader initiative to align HR practices with the dynamic operational requirements of DBDLI. A comprehensive review of all HR policies is planned for the next fiscal year. So as a growing organization, there are always changes, new positions coming in line. And so with that, there are new policies that have to be developed. The committee also acknowledges staff transition, emphasizing that former employees remain supporters and collaborators of DBDLI. I think once you're part of DBDLI, you'll always be a part of DBDLI. And I still see some of the inaugural board members sitting here with us today, which is great. The committee expresses gratitude to its members, Randy, Jason, for their contributions. Just to end the report, the committee commends the staff for their dedication and encourages them to continue fostering positive opportunities within the community. So like I said before, the bulk of what they've done for the year is within the actual report. Like I said, moving on to the important stuff, which is the finance piece. So I'll kind of talk about what happened. I know a lot of you aren't familiar with the finances of DBDLI, but I'll sort of give you an overview of some of the stuff that we've done over the year, and then try and tie in the makeup of the financial structure of DBDLI. I should have said this at the beginning. This is my speech now. Thank you for hosting us. I'm very happy to be here with everybody here to share our financial progress. DBDLI has had a strong year financially. We continue to strengthen our services across the 4 main areas that we focus in, which is research and policy, education and training, youth and engagement, and finally community engagement. So there are a lot of other things that we do, but those are the core things that we, sort of services that we provide and that are funded through the Department of Education. Thanks to the efficiency and the hard work of the staff, all those services were delivered within 10% of each of their budgets. So we each get, all those categories get budgets from the Department of Education, and we made sure that we stayed within those budgets. So DBDLI's core operational services, so their operations and their core services are funded by a fixed grant from the Department of Education. This grant has remained the same over the last 10 years, while our challenges have continued to grow. To address this gap, the Department of Education has provided short-term grants that have enabled us to provide more services. Staff and board members have also worked hard to find additional funding from other departments and the federal government. So over the last 5 years, these short-term funding sources have been the main source of our growth as an organization. So the core grant that we get is about $1 million, but over the last 5 years, that has grown, our total expenditures have grown to be about $2 million. So that $1 million is shored up by these short-term grants. So with that, I'd like to thank all our funders and donors, particularly the Department of Education, for helping us to see this continued growth. And finally, I would like to thank all members of the Finance Committee, the CEO, Sylvia, the Finance Manager sitting over there, Mick Edward, for all the hard work that they have done, that they've done to ensure the growth stays on course. That's all.
Thank you so much.
Are we able to ask questions?
Oh, sure, maybe come back, Jay, just in case there's some questions.
I wasn't prepared for questions, but I'll do my best.
No, I think James, this is a very simple one.
No.
I was just wondering, I was looking at the financial review that's been done, or the audit that's been done, but what about your upcoming budget? I mean, do you not present your budget for people to have a look at how you, or how DBD is allocating its funds and what they're expecting to do with them?
Yeah, our budget has more or less remained the same. So what we've actually done with the department this time around is we've signed a 3-year agreement. So that's tied in. So I think that 3-year agreement is coming to an end next year. So that amount has already been stipulated.
I understand that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks. Any other questions? Sure.
Thanks for the question, Sheila. I don't know if you all know Sheila Lucas Cole. She's this awesome woman that just asked that question, and Sheila was one of the very first founding members of the DBDLI board back in the day. I mean, how many years ago? 10 years ago. So she has witnessed this organization grow and expand. It's extraordinary, extraordinary. I was also with you at that inaugural board, and we have witnessed such growth.
A lot of change.
A lot of change, yeah. So we've quickly come to the end of our program, but before we close, I'm going to be asking Sylvia to come and give a few closing remarks, but I'd like once again to thank the staff and all the board members, and particularly the board of the Black Loyalist Heritage Society for being such wonderful hosts this evening. Beautiful place. And I'd like also to give a shout out to the local caterers, Emerald Light, for providing us with the delicious food. And this event was made possible due to a small but mighty planning committee. So thank you to the DBDLI staff members who have been extremely busy behind the scenes. And also thank you to the DBDLI staff drummers who kicked us off this evening with the right beat. And the DBDLI, as you know, is grounded in the Afrocentric philosophy of Ubuntu, which in its essence is I am because we are, which is the idea that my humanity, our humanity is tied up together. And having all of you join us in person and those of you who are joining us virtually, it's a reminder of that strength and importance of coming together. Your presence and support for this organization means so much. We thank our amazing guest speaker tonight. I'm so pleased that you were able to be with us and share your wisdom. And I want to thank you all for taking the time out of your evening and coming here to join us and spending that time with us. And I'd like now to ask Sylvia, who I think, oh, there she is. To say, yeah, thank you, to say a few words before we close the evening. Sylvia.
Echo all the thank yous and acknowledgements that Susie has provided. And really, it's just a couple of logistics things that I'm going to close out with. So one is to thank Susie for your role here this evening, additional to being the board member and emceeing the, this evening's program. Thank you very much. I don't know if folks that had a chance when you came in to pick up some of the Delmore Buddy Day Learning Institute swag, I think they call it, materials in. So I hope that if you have not, that you would do so before you leave this evening, take that off with you. I also wanted to have a chance to amplify the thanks that we have for folks by having you have a chance to see outside the pictures that are in the book, the folks who are able to be here. So I would ask the staff team, including our tech person who's behind the banner, to stand up. So if all the staff team could stand up so folks could see who you all are.
Stay standing, stay standing, stay standing.
Of like matching those faces to the book later when you do that. But and to amplify as well, people have positional titles and you see that there. But I feel very privileged that people we're all in this working towards our community and our community collaboration. So people, as you've seen, take on various tasks because the important piece is what we also acknowledge here, folks, in terms of community, is that we focus on doing towards our mandate, which for us is ensuring that we do what is possible to have learners, Nova Scotian learners who identify as African Nova Scotian of Black, to be successful in all their endeavors and to have that show up in terms of lifelong learnings. So thank you again for everyone for being here this evening. You're very much appreciated. Randy, I don't know if you were coming up, if you wanted to say a comment. I saw you, I asked you to stand, but in terms of board folks who are here as well. So I would invite the board members who are here that may not have been up. I think maybe everybody was, but anyway, can all the board members stand who are able to be here? I do want to say the valuing, this is a volunteer board, right? Has the saying goes, this is not their day job. But the time that they give and the commitment is very much valued because it's together operations and board that is able to help the DBDLI advance. So thank you, everyone. Have a great rest of the evening.